Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you are all safe and well during these trying times. I am the Curious Owlbear, and I'm continuing the series where I give you ideas for random encounters that don't suck. Today, we have a request for some weather-based encounters. Let's see what the adventurers will run into. The adventuring party is off in the wilderness, far from the nearest town. As they journey, the sky overhead begins to grow darker and darker, threatening a heavy rain. When the rain finally starts to fall, the players instantly recognize that something is wrong. Droplets fall onto the armored shoulders of the adventurers, and where the droplets make contact, they burn away small sections of the player's armor. The acid rain could be deadly when it finally turns into a downpour, and the adventuring party will need to create a shelter in order to survive. As such, this encounter is perfect for open grasslands, rolling hills, or other environments where shelter is less common. The adventuring party must take a ship or boat to the location of their next adventure. Unfortunately, there have been several recent storms that have increased the sea level by 1 inch. This is a very big inch, however, as the wind has not died down and the tides are rising. Where there were once 3 to 4 foot swells, there are now towering waves of 10 feet or more. In addition, the high wind can throw ships off course, making the sea incredibly difficult to traverse. It will be difficult for even the most veteran sea captain to safely navigate these waters. Later on, the storm picks up with gusts from 30 to 40 miles per hour. Dark clouds accumulate overhead and the rain begins to fall. The first of the night's lightning strikes hits a tree very close to the party members. Time and time again, lightning hits very near, as if a storm deity of some variety has taken offense to the party's presence. In reality, the lightning is somewhat sentient, warding away individuals from some fabled treasure. If the group continues to get closer, then the lightning will begin to repeatedly strike the party. This is a good encounter for times when the party is traveling across water, as they will have very few places to take shelter, and the lightning may damage a seafaring vessel. One night, as the group sets up camp, another interesting storm rolls over the party. At first, it seems like normal fog, but as the storm pulls over the camp, players realize something is wrong. This is a magical darkness, which makes it impossible for characters inside it to see very far in front of them, even with dark vision. Players will need true sight, or an item that grants a similar effect in order to see through this magical storm. This encounter can find a place in just about any environment, but I recommend utilizing it in conjunction with a monster that can traverse other planes of existence, such as the phase spider. The group must pass through a large bog on their way to the next adventure. Along with the usual terrible smells, muddy crossings, and constant marine layer, the players will encounter large clouds of grayish smoke that float across the bog. If a player is exposed to one of these clouds, whether by chance or by a sudden change in the wind, they will be subjected to poison. It's up to you exactly what the poison will do. It could cause straight damage, slowly sicken the player, or inflict the poison condition for a certain period of time. The next bit of inclement weather that the party faces is a massive rainstorm. It is layered with sheets of acid rain, thundering lightning, and cold, driving winds. One of the magic users in the party may deign to make an Arcana check in an attempt to understand this weather, and a successful check reveals that this is an entirely magical storm. It seems like each bit of rain, wind, and lightning are errant bits of evocation magic. For each hour that the group, their animals, or their shelter is exposed to this storm, they take 1d10 acid, 1d10 cold, and 1d10 thunder damage, which can significantly add up over time. This effect is featured in the Magical Storms section of the Ghosts of Saltmarsh module, which I highly recommend for anyone who is looking for some neat weather effects. As the group passes through a desert, they encounter a very high wind. It gusts from 45 to 60 miles per hour and carries hot sand with it. The desert, which is normally quite hot, is even warmer than usual. The wind also seems to pull at the characters' clothing, piercing their skin. If the group spends more than an hour in this wind, they will become extremely parched. Unless the group has access to an alchemy jug, they'll quickly need to search for water, which is quite scarce in the desert. I recommend using this encounter after a large battle, when your players will have expended some of their resources and may be unable to use magical means to solve this problem. The group passes through a wooded forest, darkened by the thick overhanging branches. The dirt road winds through the trees, passing remnants of wooden fences and shacks. The players suddenly begin to feel like they're being followed, even though there doesn't seem to be anything around. If the players use the message or sending spells, or if they have access to sending stones, they will need to make an insight check. If they succeed, then they become aware that something is listening in on these telepathic conversations. However, if they fail, then they begin to hear faint but constant whispers in their mind. These are regional effects from the lair of an elder brain, but they can be altered to be weather effects or effects from another creature. The group is traveling through a swamp when they begin to encounter thick and twisting plants. They seem to have overgrown, obscuring the path and creating difficult terrain for miles. Water sources all around the area seem to have been supernaturally fouled, and those who drink it will regurgitate the water within minutes. Additionally, a light fog obscures much of the land around the party, seemingly extending for miles as well. These layer effects come from the black dragon in the monster manual, but again they can be altered to permanent effects in certain areas. This encounter will pair well with the poison clouds mentioned earlier in the video, and it can be used in just about any swamp. Finally, the group enters an area with rolling dunes of sand or drifts of snow. Within an area about a mile in diameter, the wind blows so heavily that a fire cannot be lit unless it is somehow protected from the wind. Rain causes rivers in the area to overflow their banks, and the snow or dust forms deep rifts that will be very difficult to traverse. These regional effects come from the Storm Giant Quintessence layer, and can be altered for any areas that may have sentient weather, latent magical effects, or another great creature. And that brings us to the end of today's weather encounters. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to smash that subscribe button. If you have ideas or requests for future videos, I'd love to read about them in the comment section below. Until next time, be well, be excellent to each other, and stay curious, adventurers.